Old-fashioned frugal habits, they may seem simple, but there is a good reason that they've stood the test of time.
They save us a ton of money, even today.
A few weeks ago, we shared 25 old-fashioned frugal habits that still save us money today. And you all asked us to give you even more of those habits so you have even more ideas. So we proudly present part 2, old-fashioned frugal habits that still help Larry and I save thousands of dollars every year.
If you don't know us, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where practical frugality meets real life.
Let's get right to it. Tip number 1. Simplify meals. Stop serving so many options at every meal. Instead, think of adopting kind of a rotation schedule like our mothers did. Now, they did this because they knew it was food that everybody would like, but ultimately it still saved them time, effort, and yes, indeed, it saved them some money. So here's some ideas of what we remember as kids. Monday, meatloaf. Taco Tuesday. Wednesday, chicken. Thursday was often breakfast for supper. Now, I suspect that's because my father was paid on Friday, so by Thursday, she was cleaning out what was left over, and sometimes that was breakfast items. Friday, hamburgers, always. Saturday, clean out the fridge. It's leftover time. And Sunday, you got to put that pot roast in the oven before you leave for church.
Now, like us, you might want to change this rotation a bit or maybe add more items to give it a little more variety. But the basics are simple. What Hope's parents did and what my parents did was create meals out of very few ingredients. They were simple and they were inexpensive.
Tip number 2, keep a good working pantry. And almost more importantly, I would say, is keep that pantry inventoried. I think, and Larry said this when we discussed the video and getting ready for it, he said the most important thing that your mother did was...
Well, it was very well ordered, so you could find what you were looking for very easily. And if you needed something, you could go in within a minute or two, you had your hands on it.
Now, why is a working pantry so important as far as saving you money is concerned? First of all, you're going to stock that pantry with items that you have bought on sale. So you're always looking to say, all right, I know how many cans of corn I want. Let's just say you use 1 can of corn a week. So that's 4 cans of corn in a month. And you know you want to make sure that you're stocked with about 12 cans of corn at all times in your pantry. If you bought that corn all on sale and you're watching as you use that corn and you're getting, say, 4 or 5 cans left in there, you're waiting for that corn to go on sale again. So you're always trying to stock the pantry with items that you have paid less than the full price for. It also helps so that you have enough items in there that you don't have to run to the grocery store every 2 minutes. Because statistically, the more often you're in that grocery store, you're going to spend a little bit more money. And then finally, it makes it so that you know that you have simple meals that you can feed your family and you've got all the ingredients on hand. That is how a good working pantry helps you to cut costs.
If you're looking for ways to cut costs and do it in a very systematic way, Hope wrote a really nice guide to it. It's called 10 Ways to Radically Reduce Your Expenses. And this gives you a very systematic way to go through and cut your expenses.
It's free. We'll make sure that there's a link to it in the description of the video. Tip number 3, repurpose everything. You don't necessarily throw something away just because you're done with it. You, by golly, could use that to fill another purpose. Let's give you some ideas. Worn out clothing. Those, of course, are cleaning rags. Jars, you can store dry goods in it, but more often than not, you'd walk into kind of the workroom in your house and you would see what in jars?
Well, up on the ceiling in the room that I do some work in, there are probably about a dozen jars full of nuts and bolts and small pieces. I can unscrew them from the ceiling, pour them out into a container and go through and find something very quickly. I rarely go to the hardware store and buy a screw, a nut, or a bolt because those have a lot of variety. And that was left here from the previous owner.
Bread bags, twist ties, use those over and over again. A lot of different variety of uses for those sorts of things. Tip number 4, use cloth instead of paper. I remember a time when paper towels just weren't considered to really be that practical because you could use old shirts that have been cut up into pieces and use those for rags instead of using paper towels. And so we kind of adopt that. We have like a stash of those sorts of things that we keep around, and we would much rather use those than a paper towel. If we get it really yucky, we can throw it out.
Before we go to the next tip, let's take a quick second to thank our sponsor, and that is Aura.
In this video, we're talking about protecting your money in a very old-fashioned way. But Aura is protecting your money in a very modern way. These days, so much of our lives is spent online, right? We do our shopping, we do our banking, we do our bill paying, all online. And what that means is that your personal information is out there more than you think it is, and certainly more than you would like it to be. We have a friend who found this out the hard way. Her identity was stolen and her bank account was wiped out. Now, eventually she did get all of her money back, but she spent 2 full weeks on the phone for hours a day cleaning up the mess. And that is exactly why for years we have personally paid for identity theft protection. Aura scans the web and looks to see if your personal information is out there. Things like your email and your password. When I first signed up with Aura, they flagged my email and my password, and both were absolutely correct, and they were on the dark web. Now, I had changed that password so no damage had been done, but it was certainly a wake-up call that the information could be readily available to those whom you don't want to have that information. And if something does go wrong, Aura's white glove team steps in and they fix it for you. They handle all the phone calls, the paperwork, all the cleanup. They even submit requests to those people search sites that really like to sell your personal information. And I know that this does work because I just received an email last week from one of those very same sites that said they had removed my information from their website, and it was because Aura had requested it. We got started with Aura with a free trial, and you can get a free trial of Aura too. You can get a 2-week free trial of Aura by going to aura.com/median. You can also scan that QR code that's on your screen right there. We're going to make sure that there's also a link all the way at the top of the description of this video.
Tip 5, cook once, eat twice. And what we mean is make more than you're actually going to consume in one meal so you have leftovers that can last you for your next meal or maybe for your spouse's work lunch. Who knows? That is a great way to make your meals go further, and you're only doing the same amount of work.
Tip number 6, get it free when you can. Mom and Dad always started with the free option before they went to the paid option. They would borrow from family, from friends, from a neighbor. They would barter to get what they want, and then they would finally go ahead and look retail. And Larry and I have kind of adopted more of a modernized version of this.
Yeah.
We call it our frugality hierarchy. The hierarchy of frugality says you always start at the top of the triangle, do free first, then you work your way down. And by the time you get to retail, you are, of course, making sure that you are stacking as many discounts as you possibly can onto it, getting it on sale, using cash back, things like that to make sure that you're still getting it for the least amount possible.
Have a need to use section in your refrigerator. We usually have like the second shelf down for items that needs to go out of there quickly. These are items that expire the soonest, and you want to get those eaten up before they go bad.
The other thing we do, like when we're inventorying that need to use section, we do that every Thursday, and we create a list. It's a prioritized list of items that are perishable, and we make sure that we're creating kind of a little mini menu plan for the next 2 or 3 days or so, using those perishable items, making sure that the ones that have the shortest shelf life get used first, and then we work our way down to those items with the longer shelf life.
Tip number 9 is to use the whole entire ingredient of anything that you're making for a meal. So if you're chopping up a cabbage and you get down to the core, you can still use that cabbage core for something else. What do you use it for?
I can slice it really thin. I've used it in stir fry, and I also chop it up and I use it in soup. People often think that the core is just not edible, but that is not true. You can actually eat the core of cabbage, and there are a lot of other parts of vegetables that people tend to throw out that can indeed be used. And if you get down to like small parts of the vegetables, peelings, things like that, you can always set them aside in a freezer bag, and once you get a whole gallon bag that's completely full of your vegetable scraps, you can stick those into the pressure cooker, cover them with water, and you can cook for 14 minutes, let it naturally depressurize, and you will have made free veggie broth from vegetable scraps.
When you get down to the bottom of a ketchup bottle, put a little bit of water in it and shake it up real good, and you can get another serving or two out of that ketchup bottle. And for shampoos, I just did this week. My shampoo bottle ran out, and I filled it up with just a little bit of water. I didn't fill it all the way up, but I put a little bit of water in it, and I used that to wash my hair 2 more times.
And what Larry just alluded to was the tip of using every last drop. Tip number 10, eat seasonally, eat locally. Now, for our parents, this was pretty easy because they had backyard gardens, so they were eating a whole lot of seasonal produce out of their backyard gardens. But let's just say you're not a gardener. How are you going to do this and use this tip to save money? You need to understand that there are certain seasons in which food products go on sale, and they're always the lowest price. So, for instance, citrus goes on sale in January. In the spring, strawberries go on sale. We are Illinois natives, and that means that in the middle of summer, you are going to have sweet corn, and you're going to have tomatoes, and you're going to have melon, and you're probably just going to eat a combination of those 3 things, and that's going to be your supper for a good number of nights on end.
Tip number 11 is make a gift stash. And this is where somewhere in your house that the rest of the family isn't going to know about, you have a stash of gifts for the future. These might be birthday gifts, wedding gifts, shower gifts, Christmas gifts. What you do is throughout the year, you find time to buy these off season and when they're on sale way ahead of the time that you need them. So by the time you need them, there you have them all ready to pick out and wrap. It is a much easier way, simpler, and it saves you money. Tip number 12, don't buy until it's absolutely needed. Now you might see an item that's on sale. Maybe you've been kind of thinking about it, but you're not really in the position to purchase it yet because you really don't need the item. You still have one identical to it that's working just fine. Buy when you absolutely need it and wait until that time. That way you're not wasting any money.
The next set of tips is going to be our rapid fire fast fact section. Are you ready? All right, tip 13, use cold water wash cycle. When you are washing, wash full loads, use cold water unless there is a really good reason that you need hot water. For instance, it's the middle of winter and one of your family members is ill, then you're probably going to want to wash all that bedding, all that clothing up in really hot water. Other than that, most of the detergents are formulated to work just as well in cold water as they do in hot water. Tip 14, entertain at home. Find ways to enjoy yourself without spending money and going out. Have all your friends and family members come to your house.
Tip number 15, use public parks, trails, and free events that your city offers when you're going to need to do something with your family. This way you don't have to put out any extra money on tickets and on other expenses. We have gone to so many free events. Hope is constantly looking through on the internet or on Facebook to see what particular thing might be offered around Christmas, and we've developed some really fun things to do that don't cost anything.
Tip number 16, when you make that pot of coffee in the morning, put it all in a thermos. Keep it warm all day long. You can drink your coffee. It'll stay warm for hours on end.
Tip number 17, give homemade gifts, especially on Christmas or birthdays. These can mean a lot to a person because they can be tailor-made to their interests. And we find this to be a very effective way, and it is also less expensive.
Tip number 18, practice window shopping without buying. When you go shopping to get ideas, not to buy products.
Tip number 19, make do with less. I have often heard the phrase, less is more, and that is so true. We can just do without and be so much better off than wanting more and more and more of something.
Tip 20, use the library regularly. Before you buy a book or rent a movie, check to see if your local library has the exact same thing and you can read it or watch it for free.
Tip number 21, clean with basic supplies. Vinegar is an amazing cleaner. It can be used for so many different things. In fact, I just use it to clean out my coffee maker that was filling up a little bit with some extra junk that it gets from the water.
Residue. We'll call it residue.
Yeah, residue. Okay. Yeah. Lime. Actually, it's lime is what it is. And vinegar cuts that. But you can use simple ingredients and not spend money on all the different cleaners that they offer.
Baking soda, yet another example of just basic supplies that are going to do cleaning for you. Tip number 22, Save and reuse wrapping paper, bows, and gift bags. Now, we differ with our children on this. Our grown children, some of them believe that we should not save wrapping paper, Larry, and are like, I don't know if it's a big enough square and it's not all crumpled. I say it can be reused again, but certainly those gift bags, they're used over and over again in our family.
If you're enjoying this video and these old-fashioned tips, we have part 1 over there that talks about all of the things that we've mentioned where we saved thousands of dollars even in 2025 on old-fashioned things.